Three, two, one, action.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Hey Chris, how you doing, man?
Humza, how's it going, buddy?
It's all good, man. Oh, there we are.
All working?
Yeah, I can see you. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
How's everything been, man? Nice start. We are
I
we
just,
are recording, by the way, man. So I just jump right into it.
that's grand.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
How's everything been, man? For context, obviously, for people who don't know, we are just two wrestling fans that met. How many? Oh God, 3 months ago.
Yeah, so we met in I think it's September for Bret Hart's live show at Inside the Ropes.
Yeah.
So you and your brother just happened to be behind me in a very long queue to go and meet him and hopefully get a picture with him, which we eventually did. But
Yes.
my God, it took a while and the show ended up starting late, but it was still a lot of fun. But we ended up getting chatting in that queue.
Yeah.
And then you learned that I was a wrestler, and I learned that you dabbled in a bit of wrestling training as
Yes.
well
Yes.
as the podcasting.
Briefly.
Yeah.
And then yeah, do the podcast thing. How's everything been, man? Yeah, since we met, since we chatted
Well,
for a long
over the
time.
weekend, I just became a two-time Titanic Tag Team Champion. So
Nice.
that's a bit of fun news. For those that don't know, Titanic Wrestling, they're one of the biggest wrestling organizations in Northern Ireland. Definitely top quality independent wrestling. Highly recommend people check them out on YouTube and on socials. And my real name's Chris Mohan, but I go by the Showman, CJ Mohan. So definitely something to check out for anyone interested in the local scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that it was great to meet you anyway, man. Like that time we got off chat and it was great. And that's like awesome things about those kind of conventions where you just meet people and just you just hit it off because we all love wrestling. So that kind of
Yeah,
brings us together and then we're like, oh, he's cool. And then, I'm sure you've had a lot of things like that as well in the past.
yeah,
So when I thought of this idea of obviously had to talk about John's last match and all that kind of stuff,
yeah,
I just loved chatting with you. And I was like, I want to talk about this with Chris because
yeah.
also we love wrestling fans, but there's the heated volatility sometimes with wrestling fans. And I
People have
did,
their opinions, you
yeah,
know? Yeah,
I didn't get that vibe from you. I was like, we can have a chat, and I'm sure we'll have different opinions of some things,
yeah.
but I just like, yeah, we can talk with Chris, and it's gonna be chill. It's gonna be really good. Just to let you know, man, this is the first time I'm using this fancy. I've got this new fancy podcast mic and
Wow.
your new setup. So I'm more pro now. This is the first time for you.
Mate, it's a great setup. I can see, I don't know whether it's just a theme you got going on, but I see the Never Give Up behind you. You've got the Cena hat on, so it makes me
We,
feel bad just to have my blurry background anyway.
it's so I did it. I did so much just to cover up.
I
I'm
got
sure. I mean, you've seen them. I'm sure we've seen the last match, and there's been a lot of chatter, man. I'll
Yep.
throw it over to you. What do you think?
Oh, mate. So especially the more we get into this conversation, okay, I am still making up my mind. Maybe you are as well. Maybe a lot of fans are. I'm still making up my mind on a lot of stuff to do with John Cena's retirement tour, you
Fair,
know?
fair. Yeah, yeah.
And this is something, again, that can be said for most of the things we're going to talk about. I can see both sides. I don't think that there is a particularly right way or a particularly wrong way to have done anything. It is all subjective, and I can see the reasons why they did everything the way that they did. For me personally, I thought it was good. I thought that they had a very good match. I think that Cena has definitely made a very wise choice by leaving at this stage of his career because we'll never get the 2016 US Open Challenge Cena again. You know what I mean? At least not on a consistent basis.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I thought that he still produced top quality work. He went over and above to produce some top quality moments. And at the end of the day, what he gave at the end of that match against Gunther was a moment none of us will forget. And while we can argue about the specifics of how it was done with the smile and the tap out and stuff, I liked it. I mean, it's gotten a lot of mixed opinions and hate online, but I see what they were going for. What they were going for is obviously you've got the never give up guy technically giving up. That's gonna be a forever debate, just like the Undertaker streak,
Yeah.
you know? But I think it was a wrestler that I saw put on their story that put it best. And he says he didn't give up, he let go. And I think that's what he was going for, even though some people said, oh, he just looked bored. He looked like he was waiting for a bus at the end. If you watch that match, he was fighting that sleeper hold for about 5 to 10 minutes. He was giving it everything that he could if you watch that in its entirety. And it gets to the point he knew he was bested. Sure, he could have passed out. He could have done an Austin at WrestleMania 13, and that would have worked fine too. But I think that there's something powerful about a Cena-like figure going, you know what? My time is up. So I didn't mind it personally. What did you think?
I, God, I mean, I don't know what you were like during the match. I was actually filmed myself, so I actually haven't had watched that back yet, but I'm sure I'll release it with the pod, some reactions of when I was watching it.
Yeah,
Um, so I was just fully in. I was all emotion, so I
yeah,
was going back and forth. But I think I had no problem with him losing. I was never going to have a problem with him losing,
yeah,
because I saw that come in and I was like, yeah, and he's probably going to want to do that. That's the right thing to do, all that kind of stuff. I'm for that. I think, yeah, he's going to help Gunther, all that.
yeah.
I just think, but I think part of me did convince myself, I think he's going to win, and I was like, I'm all for it. So
Mm,
when he lost, I didn't see the tap coming the way it did. So when
yeah,
he just did the smile and it kind of happened, I was like, what the fudge just happened? So I was kind of like processing what actually happened first.
yeah,
But then when it sat and I digested, I was like, you know what? No, I like it. I think literally what you said, I think I saw someone put it a similar way. It was Billy Ray. He
yeah.
put it on his Twitter and it was like, Obi-Wan went out with like a smirk and a smile,
Hmm.
kind of, because he knew he was going to help moving forward and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And John did the same. And I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, I dig that. Like, and I liked it. And I thought it kind of made, I thought it made sense because it gives so much to Gunther and like he's such a jerk and he's like smug. And did you see his bit on Raw or have you seen little snippets of that?
I've seen snippets just about the role. Like I saw him in the car park with AJ Styles doing that, and I mean, it's given him the heat. You know what I mean? Like, there's an argument to be made of whether or not Gunther needed it. You know, because he's already a made man, but he has had a very up and down year.
Yeah.
And given a lot of credibility to Jey Uso and stuff. There's an argument that I would agree with. Did Brock Lesnar need to beat the Undertaker's streak? I don't think he was the one that needed it. They should have
Yeah.
held off until Roman a few years later, but you can't predict the future on these things. You can just kind of work with what you have. And again, there's no right answer to this. You know what I mean? A lot of people says it should have been an Orton, a Punk, an Edge. You know what I mean? One of his career foes. But then the argument's going to come, oh, what about passing the torch on to a younger guy? I think Cena himself said that in his retirement run, or for his last match, he wanted to go out the way he came in by passing the torch to someone new, maybe like, so there's an argument, could it have been an Obafemi or
Hmm.
something like that, you know what I mean? Or an unknown. But at the same time, then that would have gotten heat because people were like, oh, they don't deserve that, you know what I mean? Or there might have been an argument that's not going to sell tickets, even though
Yeah.
Cena's last match is going to sell tickets no matter what. I think Gunther was like the right balance, you know? He's still fresh enough that he's a current guy. I think this is going to give him a lot of heat, like I said, and a big boost. It's credible. Um, should he have won? Cena being that is definitely an argument, okay? Because sorry, cut me off at any point, by the way, because I will.
No, you go.
Okay, because Um, I was raised with this view of the WWE that there's, as Vince McMahon said, a time-honored tradition that when you're leaving, you go out and you're back. I definitely think that that's the noble thing to do. And what is Cena if not noble? But then it's funny, I've listened to a lot of people talk about this match as well. And yeah, there's an argument to be made that why does the person have to lose their last match always? I get passing the torch, but when fans have been invested in a story or a character for decades, it's like, Jim Ross would talk about John Wayne. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to see John Wayne dying at the end of the movie. This is the end of John Cena's movie.
Hmm.
My personal opinion, I think it's very Cena-like to put someone over. That's all he's been doing for the past decade, really. Even the US title run, it was being done to elevate younger guys. He hasn't main evented WrestleMania since what, 2013, 2014? When was
Yeah,
it?
yeah, before this year, yeah. I
You know
get
what I
the
mean?
one with The Rock, I think.
Yeah, so it's like the reason I I grew up being a bit of a Cena hater. I grew up in that era of let's go Cena, Cena sucks.
Yep, yep. We'll get there, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll get there. But he's totally won me over as a human being. Just there is no more that there's no one that's ever been as professional or as unselfish as him that's been in his position. And so I think it's just very fitting for the man, never mind the character, to have went out that way.
Yeah. No, no, I 100% agree. And I'm all for it being, I stand by the you should lose all that kind of, I'm for that old school,
Yeah.
whatever. I think because of what happened with Sting last year, I think
Yeah.
that's changed now. Everyone's like, no, no, you don't have to. I think that's one like, no, no, you can't. But I think that was a rare thing
Yeah.
with Sting. It was different.
Yeah.
Whereas not that someone beating Sting on his last match wouldn't have meant something. Obviously, it would have, but it was a tag match. It wasn't the same. It wasn't like a solo. It's not quite the same.
It fit that run, that
Yes.
unlikely victorious run that he had. He could have put someone over, but I think it
Yeah.
was more feel good for him to have been, you know, undefeated at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you think?
And obviously, and then, if people look at it, they knew Sting was older and all that kind of stuff. So I think it was a lot different. Whereas
But not
John
many
is,
people can get away with that either.
yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
think
Yeah.
Sting is like a generational exception to the rule where people can look at him wrestling older and still want him to win. If it was Hogan, people would be like, oh, what's he? He's not putting over a younger talent, this, that. But a
Yeah.
Sting and Austin beating Kevin Owens, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? They can get away with those things.
Yeah. But I mean, like, yeah, and that technically that was now Austin's last match. But his last match was The Rock, and he lost.
True.
And like
So
I'm
he
cool with that.
he did that, and then the whole story of him coming back against Owens, you were just so excited that Austin was wrestling
Yeah,
again.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It didn't
You
matter
know?
what happened. Like
Yeah,
they was just we want to see him. But yeah,
yeah.
like Austin lost, Shawn lost, Flair lost.
Well,
Like
again,
in
then Shawn came back at the X, and they beat the Brothers of Destruction.
yeah,
So
yeah,
did he
yeah,
lose
yeah.
his last match? You know what
I
I
guess
mean?
yeah, yeah. That's a fair. That's fair. That's fair. But like again, if we're gonna go on when we say the retirement match, we probably are gonna think WrestleMania, Undertaker,
Yeah.
all that kind of
I'll
stuff.
always view that as his retirement match.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think he said it himself, and no one wants to remember Saudi. Like, so for me, I'm like, they lost. I'm like, there's no big deal. Like, it's all cool. Like, and there
Yeah.
are movies that like make that end with, the hero dies or
Mm-hmm.
they throw in the towel and they lose and all that kind of stuff. And it's cool. Like Rocky, the original Rocky, he loses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this the
Yeah.
moral victory, but he loses.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with that. And also, if like you talk about like the human being. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, we know this is what John would have wanted. Like, I
Oh, yeah.
know John is going to give, he's going to want to lose. So I'm like, man, you've given us 23 years, 5 years, whatever it is. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I think someone said it as well afterwards. It wasn't about a win or loss. People just wanted to be there for the moment. Like, this
Yeah.
is the last time of John's being there wrestling, and
And
that was it, really.
on that note, like, sorry, like, feel free to jump
No, no,
in with
you go, go.
actual questions that you have. I was so disappointed in the fans that were there, to be quite
Yeah,
honest with you. You
no,
know
I
what I
agree.
mean? I get it. I get they wanted to see him win or at least not tap out the way he did. You can have those opinions, okay? And I get that they weren't booing John. They were being they were very specifically booking Triple H.
Hmm.
But to be chanting bullshit, to be drowning out any portion of that segment against anyone with booze, I get like mob mentality. It is what it
Yeah.
is. There was an emotion going on. But like to me it just soured the moment a little bit, you know what I mean? It's just like,
100%, 100%. Yeah. No, I'm glad it stopped. Like eventually they realized they're like, oh shit, like this is
yeah,
the moment. So thankfully it didn't spoil it, like the whole thing. But like
no,
first the when Punk and Cody put the belt on him, that was totally soured. Like because they were
yeah.
just chatting bullshit, and then so I think they kind of half like when Cena started raising the belts, that's when it kind of calmed down. But I was like, come on, guys.
Well, I think that the thing is, Cena didn't. I don't think he clocked that Triple H had stood on the apron, at that point. So he was focused on getting the belts and having that
Yeah.
moment with the same way he did to Hogan back in
Yeah,
the,
yeah, 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 yeah.
um, but then the crowd started booing, and you can see him going, "What? What? Will I give these back?" But then as soon as he raised them, they're like, "Oh, we're not booing you! Yay!"
Yeah, it's Hunter. Yeah, no, I was like fearful. I was like, for God's sake, come on, man! Like, let's not ruin. Don't let me watch back how many years later and be like, oh shit, yeah, they just booed the whole segment in
Yeah,
this last ever moment. So thankfully they stopped. But no, I agree with you. I was like, I almost went from like shock and emotion to like anger, and I was like,
yeah.
for God's sake.
It was
Um,
for me. It was just like. I was like, I hadn't at that point. I was biting my nails because it was just like, this is such like a historic moment. You know what I mean? And it thankfully it didn't completely hijack the segment.
yeah,
But it was enough to make me nervous that it was veering towards that, and it was just even the fact that there was booze at all, that there was chance of bullshit at all. I don't know if I can curse here, but
no, you go do whatever you want, mate.
um, like it was just like, you fucked up. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? It was just kind of like, do you need to now? you know.
yeah,
But having said that, though, the match itself, I thought they both did an incredible job.
yeah,
The finish will be debated. I got it. I liked it. And I still think that WWE, with everyone coming out with the video package, letting him have his moment in the ring, buying, I thought that was beautiful. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I thought it was everything that a wrestler could want at the end of a career.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like, do you view it differently now as an active wrestler? Do you
Yeah.
have like certain things where you see now where like, I got like, say for example, I don't know, I can't remember how many years have you been wrestling now, Chris?
Well, so I started training in 2021. I debuted in 22. So
Yeah,
yeah, about five,
4 years,
6 years.
5 years, yeah.
So I well, the way I view it is that how many wrestlers get to know that it is their last match when their last match happens. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? God forbid it happens, some kind of freak injury or just life happens or. So very few wrestlers actually get what Cena got. And I think he realizes that more than anyone. You know what I mean? You could see him living in the moment all year. No matter what you think about the booking of his retirement run,
Yeah,
he was doing his best every single night, whether it was a promo, a match, to live in that moment. You could see him feeding off the crowd like no one does better than him. Um, and here's my okay, this is another conversation, but how ballsy was it to announce this retirement run in general? Like to say,
yeah,
I am going to be wrestling all year. Because at any point, never mind in your mid 40s when you haven't been active, an injury can happen at any time. He could have wrestled one match, he could wrestle two match, and some freak accident happens and he can't do the rest of it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So the very fact that he announced that was brave. The fact that he got through it more or less fully healthily, and the standard, people can debate about different matches, but I thought he did his best to make the most out of everything. And yeah, by the time he got to the end of it, regardless of what the crowd were doing or the booking or anything, you could just see him living in that moment, soaking in those bows. And I believe him whenever he says he's done, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. I think this is one of the few, if not the only retirement where I'm like, yeah, no, he's done. Like, that's it. That's it. And you know what I really love about the match, and I love about John in general, the simplicity in which he works with.
Hmm.
Because for the long like patience was required for that match because there was that portion when Gunther was just kept hitting with clotheslines and theoretically there wasn't a lot going on,
Yeah.
but there doesn't need to be a lot going on.
You don't need it,
Yeah,
That's the
because the
thing.
crowd were there the whole time.
I am of the opinion that wrestling is done right. if the crowd are making noise, you
Yeah.
know. Hogan Rock, you
Oh
know,
God.
the most important example. If it doesn't matter what's happening in the match, if the crowd are into it, it's great, you
Yeah.
know. Especially at that point in a wrestler's career, you know what I mean? Like whenever you're in your 40s, whenever you're made. I'm sure we'll talk about him in Styles, you know. That was not what I was expecting from that match. But again, I look at it looking back, going, why the hell not? You know what I mean? When you're at
Yeah.
that point in your career, the crowd are enjoying it, you're having fun, you haven't got much longer left of this, you know what I mean? And I truly believe that wrestling done well, less is more.
Yeah. 100%. I think, and this year he's proven that so many times. I'm like, he
Hmm.
doesn't need to do it. You don't need to do 10 million things. Like he's done a few fancy moves here or there and like stuff like that. But I'm like, don't need it. Like you're John Cena.
So how do you want to do this? Do you want to talk
Yeah.
about like from the beginning of the year
Yeah.
onwards,
I
or
was, so I
do
was going to
you
go.
jump into
So
different things?
yeah,
Like
I got a few pointers here. So because obviously we had to just jump into that first because I was like,
yeah.
got to
Only
talk.
because what you said nearly brought me onto the WrestleMania match, but I'm
No,
sure we'll get
if you
there,
go
you
there,
know?
man, you just go there. You go
Okay.
wherever. Like, it's all good. It's all good. No need for too much structure. It's all good.
No,
Um,
that's fine.
but
Only
yeah, no,
because like
because
less is more, and we'll talk about it more in depth.
yeah,
But WrestleMania is another one that I didn't have a problem with, and I'll tell you why
with Cody.
with Cody. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were problems, but like with the general structure of the match, I see what they were doing.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Me and my brother were watching it, and I was like, I'm digging this. Like, I like the subtleties of what John was doing, trying to do the heel stuff. I'm like, I get it. Like, he's not giving it to us because he's a heel, and he's
Yeah.
trying to like give us less. He's pulling back the whole Tron thing. So I was like
Hmm.
really enjoying that, like the
At least
subtleties.
at least at that point, that heel run had major potential.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And I again with this is a whole other, but like talking about that heel run and what it could have been in general, um, we'll get into what the alternatives could have been, but the choice that they made, which was I am not going to give you what you want, and that is the genesis of my heat, you know. And I'm not going to give you new clothes, new music, new this, that, you know what I mean? And as well as that, like if he had just turned heel on Cody and then gave them the SummerSlam match then. He could have done that as a babyface. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
what was the point of his heel turn then? If he's just going to give us this 5-star match that we all crave, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So I'm a heel in wrestling. And without pulling too much, you know, behind the curtain, even though everyone knows anyway, um, it's like with a heel, like your job is less is more. You know what I mean? And what better heat than WrestleMania main event? We've already seen people give 5-star quality matches throughout the weekend. You know what I mean? I am going to give you old school. I'm going to strip this down. And then, my God, we'll get into
The
Travis
finish.
Scott, but that's a whole other.
But you know what? That also kind of ties back for me with the Gunther stuff because I'm like because I watched his opening segment on Raw and it's glorious and he has this one line where he was like, "I made John Cena tap out like a little bitch." Like it's he's really rubbing it in your face and I even like now I'm like, wow, what an asshole. Like, but that's what it's supposed to be, right? And I was like, this is wrestling. Like we're supposed to feel emotion. Like sometimes we're supposed to be pissed off. But like, how are
Mhm.
you going to get the other side when you aren't haven't been pissed off or haven't been like angered? So you
Yeah,
don't kind of appreciate the other side, right?
yeah,
Which is
100%.
kind of like
Oh
the John thing with like the bad match at WrestleMania to the 5-star classic with Cody at SummerSlam.
my God, that match was insane. At any point in his career, that would
Yeah,
have been one of the best matches of his career. You know what I mean? But for him to do it near the end, like, what more do you want?
yeah,
The heel run,
yeah.
right? Again, I just want to quickly say this before we kind of
No, you
talk
go, you
about
go.
starting and stuff. Um, and now I've mind blanked as to what I was going to say, but I had what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So, in my opinion, I will die by the hill of he should have turned heel during the feud with The Rock. And that was the perfect moment. I don't know the exact point, maybe after he lost the first one, maybe during the Embrace the Hate Kane stuff, you know what I mean? But oh
Hmm.
my God, I remember watching as a fan, crying out for him to turn heel, you know what I mean? It just would have improved the product so much more. He wanted to do it. You've seen him talk in interviews since about, I was gonna change my character
Oh
completely.
yeah, yeah, the
I
whole
was
yeah.
going to, I had new music. I was going to dress differently. I was going to give up all the time. I was going to do all things that were very John Cena like. So that's what I think we all wanted, you know? Like
I think it was set up for it. If I like, because he like it could have been like because he lost to Rock, and then he was getting like battered by Brock, and I was like, because all kind of there for it to happen. I remember thinking, I was like, are they gonna do it? Is he gonna like finally spiral, and John's gonna turn heel?
even then we were crying out for it for years. You
Yeah,
know, we were done with Super Cena in like 2007, 8 even, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
we'd already but grown a little bit weary by that point. But then yeah, with the loss against The Rock, with the with, again getting battered by Brock, I think he was losing almost every match that year or something like that, like on
Yeah,
paper.
he had like a. I mean, he didn't technically, but it was like it was a weaker one for Super Cena,
Yeah,
if I remember
exactly.
correctly. Yeah.
You know, I just remember him like, you know, he had this horrible streak and it was all set up against him and of course he's got the perfect end of the opponent coming up with Rock at the end. Well, actually, I think at that point it wasn't confirmed that that would be the match because remember there was a lot of people hoping Punk would get
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I remember that. I was one of those people.
Yeah, me too. But at the same time, you know, that was the perfect time in my opinion, right? So when he turned heel this year, I was like, we're finally gonna get it. And I think a lot of people of my generation were the same as well. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because you know, no one saw that heel turn coming, you know, and it was beautiful. That was one of the best heel turns of all time,
Yeah,
Travis
yeah.
Scott aside. Um, you know, oh, that still annoys me. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
it's
it was weird. I kind of I can put it to the back, but I was like the
yeah.
WrestleMania thing was a bit worse. A
Yeah,
lot
I can
worse.
forgive it, but at the same time, it's kind of like Hogan, you know, if he had to join the NWO and I don't know, bloody Flava Flav's just in the
Yeah.
background, you know what I mean, randomly, and it's just like,
Yeah, yeah, no, I get you.
you know, anyway, but the heel turn happened, it was beautiful, and then it was like, okay, what now? Where's this going to take us?
Yeah.
How's this going to work out in his retirement? So it was just limitless potential, perhaps unrealistic expectations on the fan base, including myself. Because at the end of the day, you know what I mean? It's hard to do perfect, and it's even harder to please everyone, as this last match has proven, you know?
I think
And
you know what I think like I 100% agree. Like if he was gonna turn heel, it should have been then. And I remember like I don't know where you were on like the how much you embraced Cena at like 2012 because by like 07, 08, after 07, that's when he kind of won me over. He had that mad run in 07 where it was like with Shawn and Umaga and I was like that's when I was like begrudgingly kind of being like, oh yeah, you're pretty good. You're pretty
no,
good.
it took me longer.
Oh, Nicky Lungo.
Don't get me wrong. I always appreciated him as a performer, but I was just such a, you know, I was young and I grew up in the Attitude Era was my, you know, so I was just always like, oh, wrestling is not what it used to be back when you had Austin The Rock. I was on the
Yeah.
forums voicing this and stuff. I was just a classic wrestling fan, you know. And so I just saw, especially I liked Cena during his US title run years and the
Hmm.
rapper and stuff, you know, but then whenever he clearly became the new Hogan, I just didn't like that kind of babyface because I grew up on an anti-hero, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was the genesis of, you know, I was always kind of like, yeah, against
Yeah.
Cena. And then Punk came along, you know, did the pipe bomb, and then he was my guy, you know. Cena really started winning me over during that second, funny enough, US title, in like 20, was it 15,
15, I
16?
think. Yeah. Yeah. 15. Yeah.
Yeah, and he just started having banger matches.
Mm.
And then as well, like just the more he would do interviews around that time, whether it be promoting movies or whatever, and learning how intelligent the man is, and so I started to really like him as a as an actual man,
Hmm.
and then but then showing that he could actually have amazing matches, the feud with AJ Styles and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it took me longer than you, but I got there.
Fair. Yeah. I mean, I think by the Rock feud, I remember I was like, I love The Rock more for sure. I was like, no, no, like because I was like you, Steve Rock. So even when I was like growing to like him, I was
Mhm.
still like, well, yeah, he's good, but he's still not Rock. He's still not Austin. If I compare him there, I was like, no, no, he's not there. Now I would kind of much closer put him in those brackets. I think he's that
Mhm.
good.
Oh my, well,
And
sorry to interrupt you, but
there you go.
yes, like it was whenever he was having that rock, that really opened my eyes. Because when he started feuding with The Rock, I was like, he is gonna get murdered on the
Oh, and the
mic.
mic.
I,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it would have been like a mauling, but no, he
No,
held his own and like and completely like even blew The Rock away on some nights to the point where I'm like, hey, you can't deny this guy on the mic.
yeah. You know, I was literally it popped up the other day because by that point he'd won me over, and I was like, he's great, he's good, he's really really good,
Mhm.
the person won me over, I think around that time as well. So I think that's where it was double whammy for me. I was like, oh, he's a really good guy, plus
Yeah.
he's really really good. And my brother sent me the clip. You know when Rock came back, and then there was the first promo John had to like kind of retort to kind of start the whole thing,
Mhm.
and he did the rap. Like,
Yeah.
finally, The Rock came back and everyone was getting with it, all that kind of stuff. And I was
Mhm.
like, if he flopped there, dead.
Mhm.
So I was like, damn, that was a lot of pressure. Like, and
Yeah.
if he didn't hit back, and I was like, wow, that was actually really impressive. And obviously, that kicked the whole thing off. And then they went back and forth and back and forth. And that was the first time I remember coming back to school and everyone was talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
you don't talk. I was like, you don't watch this, or you don't talk about this. And then they're like, did you see The Rock? Oh, did you see what John said? And I was like, oh, damn, it's
Yeah.
big again.
Yeah,
And I
it
was
was
like,
it got between that and Punk, like in his rise, I think it just woke up a lot of the fan base that had kind of given up at that
hmm,
point, gave hope to the ones that had been trudging through the guest host era and
yeah,
stuff like that. You know what I mean? In the dark days. People forget sometimes how much trash was going on in those years, man. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It had really gotten very tired, the product, and very polished, but like,
yeah,
at the same time on the fly. And so I think again that was a lot of the Cena hate came from that
yeah.
too,
And he
because
was leading that charge, so it was
he
kind of
was
everything was representative of him as well. It wasn't in a way.
he was the face of it. And then,
Yeah.
again the classic hashtag before there were hashtags, Cena wins lol. You know what I mean? So anyway, but like fast forward, thankfully he's getting his flowers now
Yeah,
and from everybody. It's beautiful to see.
yeah.
And yeah, and I thought that this year in particular, like I really do think that he gave it his all. Going back to the heel turn,
Sorry, I was gonna say that. That was we went sidetracked there, but I was just gonna say, like you said, he should have turned heel then in 2012.
yeah.
But because the material that he used this year felt like it belonged in 2012.
Well,
Like
he,
the you did this to me, you betrayed me, but I was like, technically, the last couple of years they haven't really. So it
yeah.
was a bit like I get it. You could still use it because for so many years they did, but I was like, even though I was enjoying it a lot more than other people, but I was still a bit like, part of me was like, that's probably would have been more 20 years, 10 years ago.
It would have been perfect for them, you know what I mean? But again, the reason why a lot of people had hope about this heel run is because it was obviously set up in a very unique fashion by The Rock. You know what I mean? Who ended up not showing up ever again for it. You know what I mean? So, that was obviously a massive disappointment. Everyone thought they were going to be cahoots, maybe a new two-man power trip, maybe like, there was people just assumed there would be more layers than there ended up actually being, or more plans than there
Yeah,
ended up.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was as Unreal showed, it was a lot more on the fly than people thought. Whereas at the time, people were looking back at, oh, Rock showed up a few months ago and he did this with one finger, and now he did this with two fingers. Does that mean there's going to be a third man? You know what I mean? So people were really looking into it. Um, but more than that, like I think if he had a turned heel back then he would have changed the music. He would have changed the clothes. He would have, and I think people wanted that from a John Cena heel turn.
Yeah,
They want, oh, what's this gonna be? What's the new music? What's the new character? People wanted to see that change. And then the decision was made probably by Cena to get the heat from the fact that he's changing nothing apart from dimming the lights, which I thought
yeah,
was great. I thought,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
just Black and John Cena, I thought, oh, brilliant touch.
Yeah.
but at the same time, that's the only thing that changed, you know,
Mhm.
and everything
And like
else.
his
And
somber
his
expression, all
presentation,
that kind of stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, it still came out wearing the same clothes, wrestled differently, sure, but like, he didn't wrestle that much. So yeah, it was kind of like, um, I think that I would have just changed more.
Hmm.
For it, you know what I mean? I think it would have been more interesting, and then there would have been a bigger payoff if he did turn babyface again down the line. That
Hmm.
babyface turn was worse than that heel turn, in my opinion. Like that was just the most half. That was the most like right. You show up for work that day, you're babyface again. Bye. It was just like, all right,
Yeah.
you couldn't have
Yeah.
done that any better than just Cody talking you into it in one promo.
Yeah. No, no,
But at the end of the day, we got to where we wanted, which was just the happy ending. So
yeah. To be fair, because if I'm actually, I'm a lot nicer to the Huron. I actually enjoyed more than a lot of folks. Like, I guess you could say, like, I loved, because I loved the subtleties of what he was trying to do. And some of the things that I thought, like, no, this is actually good. Like, I don't want
yeah,
to give you stuff and little things he was trying to do. Like, I loved the match he had with Randy.
oh, yeah, great.
Because it was at St. Louis, it's obviously the crowd was on Randy's side, and how he was like playing the heel and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was great. The punk stuff was awesome. So I was like, you don't get that if you. It's like the you can hindsight's a beautiful thing now, but you don't get that right if he doesn't do if he's not the heel.
I'm very glad that they tried it.
Yeah,
I think that I would have looked back at John Cena's career in general as such a what. I'm glad they got rid of that what if.
sure.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I really was happy that I got to see them try it, you know. At the end of the day, it just came down to poor planning, which I
Yeah.
think will be a theme of a lot of our chat about this year.
Mm.
You really would assume that they would have, with all the build up to it, there would have just been more plans in place, you know.
Yeah.
And I get that there was plans that didn't end up coming to fruition, like has just come to light recently with the Travis Scott, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, yeah. Not showing
That's
up.
so, but in terms of the heel run, I'm really glad that we got to see the turn. Beautiful moment. I thought Cena did it so well. I loved Cena's initial heel promos.
Hmm.
You know, the one where he made the kid cry and everything. You know, it was,
Yeah. And
it's
I
just
was there at one of them actually. I was there in London before WrestleMania. So I was there.
wow.
I went there because I was like, oh, got to see John. So
Yeah.
broke the bank and went. Um, but it
Fair
was
play to you.
all, and I remember like it was awesome because the promo with Cody was awesome, and that's when he pulled out the line. I can't remember if you remember it. He was like, "I built empires for billionaires. You just steal money from their kids." He pulled that line
Oh,
on Cody,
yeah.
and I went with one of my friends, and she was like, because it was everyone was on Cody's side, and he said that line, and he shifted, and everyone started chanting Cena, and she was like, "How the hell did that happen?" I was like, "He's bloody that damn good."
That he
But
is.
so I got those moments, and I guess again because he was a heel, I liked those things. I liked the subtleties that he was doing, and I was like, I appreciated it a lot, and I got what he was trying to do, but. I think he said it in a recent interview. He was like, I needed 2 years, not 20 dates or whatever.
How do you legitimately turn heel as one of the greatest of all time on your retirement year when everybody knows it's your retirement year? Most people are buying a ticket to see you one last time.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing that's like it's like Austin turning heel in WrestleMania 17, but
Oh,
times
God. Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, I'm glad Austin turned heel. I thought that the initial genesis of that was really fun. It made for some great moments. You know, in the, but it just timing wise, the alliance ended up happening and it got all
Yeah.
fudged.
I mean, I love
Um,
the comedy that came from his heel turn, but
oh,
I mean, that was.
it got you seeing more layers of Austin that you would
Mm,
not have seen had he just stayed being babyface and stunning people. You know what I mean? And same with Cena. You know what I mean? It was fun to see him at least attempt it, and I think he
mm,
really gave it a good old college try.
yeah. Like,
And
did you see the? I imagine you did the pipe bomb promo that he did
yes,
on
of course
Punk.
it did. Yeah.
Like stuff like that. I'm like, well, that's the
Oh,
heel turn. That's the heel. Like, we don't get it.
beautiful
We don't get
callback.
it. Yeah.
Beautiful callback. You know what I mean? Again, you're never going to get the same level of organic beauty that the original Pipe Bomb did, but it was
Mm,
supposed to be a heelish parody, is the thing. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it was a really beautiful callback. Um, Here's the thing, though. Some basic. So his match against Orton, perfect, the perfect post WrestleMania match for him in the best place, St. Louis. You know what I mean? But how do you not do the Punk one better? You know, that was not a Saudi Arabia match. It should not have been. It should have been more of a big deal. In my opinion, it would have been amazing at Money in the Bank,
Yeah.
for that to have been a callback to their, historic match. And then the ending just, infuriated me in all kinds of ways. I know that you're trying to, I think for this retirement run, one of the biggest gripes that myself and a lot of the fan base will have is that balance of how do you keep story going the way wrestling does? Because the story always goes, you have to progress the next story.
Mhm.
But some rules had to have been broken in because it's a retirement run. So I really do think that they would have just been served better doing kind of dream match after dream match after dream match and letting the story take a bit of a back seat. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Just let Cena and Punk have the best match that they could have had one last time. Have there be a winner, either of them, it doesn't matter. Probably Cena because he was champ at that point, I believe.
Mhm.
Um, and then that's what the fans want. You don't have the Vision coming in and having like all these different run-ins and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like stuff like that was just such a waste. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
I actually didn't mind that finish, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Really?
Yeah, I actually didn't mind it. I actually quite, I don't know, I thought it
I
added a
thought
little
I
bit of
was
a,
positive.
yeah. That one I didn't, honestly, I didn't mind. There's other stuff I'm definitely not, I didn't love definitely didn't love the WrestleMania finish. But, like that one, I was like, I can see the point other people's make, but I didn't think it was I didn't harp on it too much. I thought, I kind of liked he did like the forget you on, Bronson and all that kind of stuff. And
You
Seth's like,
wouldn't have preferred just Cena Punk, just bell to bell,
I would
having
have
a great
preferred
match.
it, but I didn't. Hey, I think because he was a heel, I didn't mind it.
Okay.
Kind of was like, it kind of makes sense that he gets away with it, and all that kind of
I,
stuff.
I guess I guess to me the reason why that one sticks out to me is because that was the match that I as a wrestling fan was looking forward to in his retirement run and begging
Fair.
for. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like, I would have the rest of it's a blank sheet of paper. It's like, yeah, him and Cody would definitely work. Yeah, him and Logan Paul, sure. Him and R-Truth, why not? But at the same time, him and Punk is what I wanted and what like I feel like my little core fan base wanted to.
so definitely. So I'm on that
And then,
bandwagon.
so for that match to have been a throwaway in Saudi Arabia, for that match to have had all the run-ins and stuff, to me, it was just placed badly. You know what I mean? But that's
Yeah,
all. Again, this whole thing is subjective, and
yeah.
everyone has a different opinion.
I'm more with you on the. I would have preferred it to be at a different event. I
Hmm.
thought that the event didn't suit it, where I was like, Money in the Bank would have been perfect. Like,
Like just Punk Cena, Money in the Bank, that alone makes people
yeah,
go, oh,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
100%.
But
But
maybe it would have built up hopes if there was no plans on them actually having a bell-to-bell match. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, yeah, like you said subjective. But I mean, like if I think about it, like everything in the heel run side, most people's argument always seems to go back to Rock. Like in terms of what's the problem, it's like they scoot around a lot of things, but it's always like comes down to, oh, the Rock didn't come back,
yeah.
and obviously Travis Scott. Um, but because I was like, if Rock was in WrestleMania, you do basically the exact same thing, but just put Rock in there. Everyone
What
would have
would
been fine.
I do?
In WrestleMania, like that WrestleMania main event, like if they
Well,
did the exact same finish, but you just put Rock in there,
yeah,
no
I
one would have
think
said
if
a word.
Rock had have been there, it would have been a success all around.
Yeah,
Obviously, you would have gotten people that didn't get what Cena was trying to do with the way he was wrestling as a heel.
yeah,
They would have been like, "Oh my God, that match was boring." That's that. I throw that argument to one side. That's
yes,
just
yeah,
like, I'm sorry, that it wasn't supposed to be a New Japan 7-star classic.
yeah, yeah.
He's getting his heel character across. This is perfect. But yes, Travis Scott came out, and first of all, why him? I'm so like, oh my God, like I'm sorry. I am all for the right celebrities being involved in wrestling or any celebrity being involved to an acceptable degree. You
Yeah.
know, like if it had been Mike Tyson, like in '98, you know what I mean? Perfect. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But
The
he
Jelly Roll this year, pretty good.
Jelly Roll was great. That's what I'm saying. There's some great celebrities. You know what I mean? And if used properly, he was just so miscast, so misused, so unthreatening. Yes, he is a natural heel. So yeah, you got that right. You know what I mean? But at the same time, he's not the dude you want invading your mass WrestleMania main event, even if he did break Cody's eardrum, which again, I'm sorry. Like, that's just careless.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He's
if
also
he had
like he just seems like he doesn't know what he's doing.
no, you know
He
what
just seems clueless.
he seems like he seems like he doesn't care enough. Not that he doesn't care, because I know that he loves wrestling, but like he's taking the piss a bit or something, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, that what made it more egregious to me was just the length of time he took getting to the ring. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, mate. You took 5 times as long as the Undertaker, and you are not the Undertaker. You know what I mean?
That was my biggest thing. I was like, we could have still had Travis if you really want Travis, but just jump over the guardrail, hop onto the side of the ring, boom, 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 get it over with.
Like even
Like,
just little details like the fake hardcore title thing, it's just like, you don't invade the WrestleMania main event wearing a toy if you want to be taken seriously, you know what I mean? It's just like, things like that were just weird about it, man, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, but he went and he got crossroaded, which was good, but again, if he had jumped the guardrail and it had have led to that, it would have been so much more effective. Back to the
yeah,
original question though. So
go on.
that was bad enough, but I think if you remember when he started coming out, the audience did do an oh, because the last time they had seen Travis Scott, it wasn't for Travis Scott. The last time they had seen him was side by side with The Rock. So
Yeah.
yes, I, like everybody else, expected that to be followed by if you smell what The Rock is cooking and the final
Mhm.
boss coming out. That is what people were waiting for. And I feel like if Travis didn't come in, it would have been acceptable The Rock not showing up. But the fact that it was only Travis, yeah, and The Rock not being there just made it kind of you can't come back from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just the fans.
I think that's why I feel a bit bad for John. I think I loved what he was doing. And I think actually if Rock was involved, all the arguments, not all the arguments, but a lot of the arguments people have made of what they didn't like wouldn't
Mhm.
exist.
Yeah, and the thing is, we don't know the whole story as
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
why The Rock wasn't there. I find it very hard to believe. I know the story of Ari Emanuel calling The Rock saying we need something for Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, yeah.
I just, as much as I disagree with things that WWE have done this year, I find it so hard to believe that they're that stupid to have booked The Rock as a major part of that with no other plans.
Mhm.
So there must have been other plans in place that eventually people butted heads about, and there's rumors of Rock and Triple H. We don't know yet, you know what I mean? Um, and eventually The Rock was like, "This is your mess. You guys sort it out. I'm busy," which he is. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
At the end of the day, The Rock is a very busy man. Um, but yeah, him. If Travis was coming out, Rock needed to be there. If Travis didn't come out, we could have just focused on the match. And at the end of the day, Travis coming out without The Rock, Cody and Cena could have put on a 7-star match for you, and you all still would have been disappointed at the end.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's where I get a bit. I'm a bit like, come on, guys. Like, no, I mean, like, know the like where we're coming from, or like, no, like, look at the bigger picture. I think when they fixate on this one thing and that
Mhm.
ruins everything, I'm like, well, that's a dangerous life perspective. I think you have.
And then
But
again, yeah, and then I get that they were building towards. It's just recently come out for the 6 man that they were apparently training Travis Scott for. That's
yeah,
fine,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? There's other ways that they could have built that rather than him invading the main event.
Mhm.
Um, or at least in the way that he did.
Yeah,
But then it just the bigger slap in the face is that like it just proves you that was the wrong guy to be putting in this position. I mean, like to have thrown him in the greatest heel turn maybe of all time, the WrestleMania main event, the climax, it was just such a waste.
yeah.
But that's not John Cena's fault.
No, 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 no. Like I said, I feel bad for him because I think I hope in years to come people will look back and be like, actually, oh, yeah, that was I see what he was doing. I think that will be the case a little bit, but
Yeah.
there was still a lot of really good stuff, right? Like, and which I think we fixate on the negatives, which we have just a little bit there, but that's part of the process. But there was awesome stuff, like awesome. Like we talked about the Cody Cena match, the SummerSlam one. That's my favorite match of the whole year. It's one of my favorite matches probably of John's career. I
Me too.
literally couldn't get the smile off. I couldn't believe what I was watching
Oh,
when it
it,
finished. I was like, "What?" I was, because he did the what was that guy? The move, the name of the pin when he jumps on the back and he like does the flip.
oh yeah, yeah. Do you know what? I was watching this and literally going, "What's that move called again?" Dustin Rhodes does it all the time, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know what you
because
mean.
and a few days before I was thinking because you're talking about the US title run. That's when he
Mhm.
was doing it. Right? That's when he introduced it. I think that year, and
Yeah,
I was like,
even Michael
oh,
Cole blanked on the name of that
yeah,
move when he's like,
yeah.
"Oh, it was," and you could see that he blanked.
This is
Yeah,
when we'd make terrible commentators because like, well, what's that move called?
yeah. What a
But I was
maneuver!
a few days before I was like, oh, he can't do that move again. I don't know why it even popped in my head. I was like, yeah, he can't do that. And I
Yeah.
watched that and I was like, damn.
Well, what was great about that is that again, it just reminded me of Cena in 2016 because remember whenever it was that again, that was five moves of doom or we can't do anything.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just to troll the fans, he would just throw out random moves like during that era, and then you were like, oh my God. And the fact that he would just do a crazy new move, even if it
yeah,
was like awful,
yeah,
the Hurricane Rana he did to Punk in 2013 or something,
yeah,
2014. Yeah, 2013. It looked bad, but at the same time, you're like, Cena did a Hurricane Rana, what the
yeah.
heck? And then the pile driver as well, they did it to Cody.
Yes.
The match was just incredible. It was really was from an emotional standpoint, from a technical standpoint, just it went on and on and on. The visual of him coming up with Cope from the stage with Cody in the
Yeah.
A position. Um, yeah, it was great. Again, it's just so not to bring a negative back into it, you know what I mean? But what would have made it that wee bit better is that if they just had a little bit of a better way of him turning babyface beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
But at the same time, it's just that point in Cena's career where the fans are just like, I don't care. I want to cheer you. They wanted to cheer him anyway. That was the main thing we all learned from the heel run is the fact that they maybe played the part of booing him at times, but at the end of the day, then the show's over, you'll still applaud him because he's John
Yeah.
Cena,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
And obviously the entrance everyone talks about when they went black and then it changed to the normal color, and
Mhm.
obviously the massive reaction at SummerSlam.
Amazing.
You can, I can make the argument, right? Like, if the heel run isn't what it is, it was bad. We desperately want you back as a babyface. This isn't working. But if they don't do that, does that then reaction happen? That
Well,
moment?
that's the thing, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, where we were at that point is that the fans were like, this heel run is just a bust. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
they tapped out.
And it was all over everywhere. When are they going to end this? When are they just going to have, so at that point, I think there was just a collective from WWE. Fine, let's just end it, which they just
Yeah.
end. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like just for that moment of relief, whether it was relief, it was ecstasy, it was just like nostalgia. Whenever you had the black and white John Cena, they were going to cheer him anyway.
Yeah.
But then when the colors came, it was like, now we can cheer him. You know what I mean? It was a great moment.
Yeah. Did you prefer that match or did you prefer the AJ match? And also, to be fair, not to
Oh,
mention in the middle, the Logan Paul match was a bit of a banger as well.
yeah, look, when does Logan Paul not have a banger?
That's fair. That's fair.
Say what you will about him, like he knows what he's doing in that ring. He's the anti-Travis Scott. In terms of celebrities getting involved, he's the epitome of a celebrity doing it well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And
but yeah.
you being a couple of years in your career, like, do you look at someone like Logan and be like, damn, like, how the
Oh
hell are
my
you doing
God,
this?
I can't do half the stuff that Logan Paul does, you know what I mean? And I train every bloody week. And I look at him and I'm just like, yeah, he's just one of these genetic, like not in the same way, but like a genetic freak like Brock Lesnar that is just or
Yeah.
Kurt Angle that's he's just going to be great at everything. He's just got that gift. And I think that anyone that knows anything will look at it and just respect that about him, you know what I mean? But it's good we can still hate him as a heel, you know what I mean? So it works
Yeah.
on all
Yeah.
levels. But back to your question, much preferred the Cody match.
Hmm.
I'm divided on the AJ match.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe that's your controversial take.
Is it? I mean, at the end of the day, it was. I stand by what I said earlier to you. By you've got two wrestlers that are at that point, they can do anything, and they just went in there to have fun, And the purpose of that match was for them to pay tribute to their peers.
Hmm.
They did it very well,
Yeah, yeah,
but it just because of that story, I guess it just wasn't my kind of wrestling, you know. Loved the Bray Wyatt moment, the
yeah,
tribute.
yeah,
They
nice.
got the Fireflies, and the crowd were hot. The crowd loved it, so they did the job well.
Hmm.
You cannot say it was a bad match because the crowd loved it,
Yeah, yeah,
But I do think it's overrated as a match in terms of it's kind of like if two kids create a wrestler and they're just spamming finishers against each other on WWE 2K. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So at the end of the day, it was, oh my God, RKO, that was fun. And then in my opinion, the most brilliant part of the match was when the crowd were chanting 619, 619, which you knew Cena was incapable of doing, but he still drop pulled his
Yeah.
AJ just to make it look like he was going to do it. And the crowd were like, yeah. And then, of course, he just runs straight into a clothesline from
Did you
AJ.
think he was gonna do it?
No, of course I did. You know what I mean? But that's the thing. Again, the brilliant thing about Cena is that he's really one of a dying breed of fans that could call it in the ring. And I
Yeah.
truly believe a lot of that match was called in the ring because there are two people that could, you know? And so I think there's points in that going, here, do you know what they'd love right now? Either chanting 619, let's tease a 619. Maybe AJ was just like, "Do you know what? Let me do a sweet chin music,
Yeah.
So, and that's fun. It just,
Yeah.
as a match, you can't compare it to the Cody match, in my opinion. The
You
Cody
know
match
what?
was just a great match, start to finish. That was
Yeah.
more of a tribute match.
Yeah. You know what? I love the match. So maybe I like it more than you. But I
Right.
100% agree. Sorry.
So what's your opinion, sorry?
No, I was gonna say I love the match. I love what they did. I got it. But I
Mm,
actually 100% agree with everything you said.
right.
Like
Yeah.
and then that's why I actually when I watched it, I wasn't disappointed by any means. I loved it. Thought it was great because I knew what they were doing, and I was like, I can appreciate this,
Yeah.
and the emotion of it all, and I was like, great, fun,
And that's
all. But like you said, I was like, but if I really broke it down, the Cody match is way better. Like it's psychology, story, all that jazz that you want to talk about. Everything was there. This was just like you said, spamming finishes. It's actually a perfect analogy. Like maybe it comes across a bit like derogatory in a way, but it's kind of true.
yeah, I mean, and I don't want what I said to be misinterpreted either.
No,
Like,
no, and then but I get what you mean though.
at the end of the day, like I says, the match served the purpose very well of what they intended it to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And, I feel like they did a great job. I loved Cena given an introduction to AJ that he wasn't expecting. You could tell
yeah.
he wasn't expecting. I thought that was beautiful. And you know what it is? I can see why they did it too. You're never going to get the quality of match that they had. What was it? Nearly 10 years ago.
Yeah, God, that's when you feel old, man.
That is when you feel because it feels like a year or two ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's nearly 10 years ago they had that feud.
yeah.
You're never going to get that quality of match. So they're just like, what can we do that's different? And we're at that point of Cena's career where he could just do anything. And that was part of the beauty of it, in my opinion.
Mm,
He didn't have to always give you a five-star classic in the technical way. He was like, what do I want from this match? And he clearly looked at one of his most respected rivals and he went, let's just pay tribute to the people that got us here. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And he paid tribute to Bray and Michaels, Orton, so many,
Yeah, Samoa
Undertaker,
Joe, I think they did. Yeah.
yeah,
Then
and Jericho.
yeah, yeah,
Of course, and that was at the height of, is Jericho leaving AEW? Is
yeah,
he
yeah, yeah, yeah,
WWE? So that got a huge pop.
yeah.
Um,
Because I actually had the exact same thought though when they booked the match. Because I was like half concerned. I was like, oh, can you match Rumble 2017? Can you match SummerSlam 2016?
yeah,
I'm like, but I was so actually was smart because I think I was like, actually you couldn't do that.
yeah,
So it's good what you did.
yeah.
But yeah,
So,
like I
so,
mean, and also the crowd in that, like all the yellow shirts.
oh yeah,
I've legit never seen anything like that. Like it's like it was like a football, like you just see all the Arsenal shirts in a stadium or something like that. It was legit like that.
they love yellow in Australia, man. There you But yeah, it was amazing. You know what I mean? And so again, but just to me that to go out there in such a marquee match and do something that is so different, whether it be at WrestleMania, like I says, that takes balls to have all these 5-star matches go on and then go outside and go, I'm just going to slow it down and I'm going to get heel heat on you.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because Cena was capable of giving you SummerSlam at WrestleMania, and which is what 99% of wrestlers would do because it's WrestleMania. But again, the bravery of him to not do it because it was right for the story not to do that. And the same thing with like him and AJ could have went out and tried to give you the best wrestling match that they could, but the bravery of them to go, no, we're going to give you a good match, but at the same time, the purpose of this match is to pay tribute. You know what I mean? Again, it's just, I do respect things like that. I like different,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's to go out and have the best match you can in the traditional sense isn't always what's best for the story.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think that's one thing I loved most about especially this year is John in the world of like not I don't mean this in a bad way. Will Ospreay's 5-star matches and Kenny Omega and da 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 da. John's showing you no, like what's really the most important thing is this. The
Hmm.
audience connection. I don't have to do 10 things. I can just do one and they're gonna go nuts. And just the
Hmm.
small details, I'm like, that's wrestling.
Yeah, that is rest, and there's no one better at it than Cena.
Yeah.
I was this is really interesting because I really wasn't sure about my opinion on a lot of this stuff. So going into this conversation, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to end up being really negative about Cena. I don't know if I'm going to end up, just being really useless because I can see the sides to everything. But see, the more we talk, it's made the clarity of just how good John Cena actually is even this year. It's like he gave us so many moments, man, in the very limited dates that he did have,
Mm.
and so many distinct moments, different kinds of matches. You know what I mean? I think that if you really break it down, it's like, what more could you ask for? And my God, we may never get a retirement run like this again. It really was so unique. Whether
Yeah.
or not you thought you agreed with all of it.
Yeah. No, 100%. And yeah, like you said, I think if I look back, I'm like, actually, so many really. I mean, some are like I said, we have a bit of a different opinion on the punk match and stuff like that. But like, there's still enough moments where we're like AJ, Cody, the heel turn, maybe not the run, but the turn.
Hmm.
Logan Paul, etc., etc. Like even like the Sami Zayn match they had on SmackDown. I don't know if you
We
saw
didn't
that.
even talk about that. That was
That
one of
was
my highlights.
that was awesome, and I don't
Oh,
think it's going to be talked about barely, considering everything because it wasn't on the scale of the others, like in terms of show.
that was one of the few times where I can say that I was sitting watching SmackDown live in recent times. 'Cause I don't really do that anymore. I normally
Yeah,
like, if it's a
the
good show,
next day
here,
or yeah,
then
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
watch it again. But I was sitting watching SmackDown, and then it happened. First of all, I wasn't expecting them to have a match in general.
Hmm.
The fact that it was such a pure callback to his US title invitational was
Yeah,
so good. It was one of those ones you really it could have went either way. Again, you're talking about you would have loved him to win against Gunther. I would have loved him to have win that. You know what I mean? I thought
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
was I would have just popped like a little kid if he had won that match. But he didn't need to, you know what I
No, no,
mean?
no.
It is what it is. But what a match, what a moment,
That
and what
was
a
so
flat
good.
SmackDown. So perfect.
Yeah, like that could easily. If someone said that's my favorite match of this year, John, I'd be like, fair play.
Oh, it was so organic. That's the thing. It was just like one of those little nuggets you remembered from your childhood of this match you weren't like the original him and Sammy match. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
When Sammy bloody tore his
Oh yeah, good.
hip or whatever it was, Bret Hart introduced him or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But that was a banger match that just no one was expecting at the
yeah,
time. You know what I mean? And they went and did it again. It was amazing.
yeah. And that's what I mean. Like so much, and why? And I think like you said there, even in this year, which I by this point I'm like full on love John, huge like fan. Literally paid a bunch to go see him in Liverpool Comic Con. I don't know if you saw on my Instagram. Well, I got to meet him in November, I think it was. So
Wow.
actually to meet him, I mean, yeah, it was like really quick. Hey, hey, I just said literally thank you, took a picture, we gave him a hug. Awesome stuff. Like
Well, what
loved
else
it,
was I going
cherish
to
it.
say?
Yeah, yeah, like
Yeah,
literally. And I know it's not it's Comic Con, so it's really quick, so it's not the moment
yeah.
to really be able to say a lot. So I don't want to be rude about that. We had a bit more time when we met Brett. It was a bit
Oh,
more chill. Um,
I
but
wasn't. It's my first time meeting him.
oh,
No.
good.
I
But
did
you were
get him to
fine.
put me in a chin lock though. That was good. Or a headlock.
I think I copied your picture. 'Cause I was like, oh, that's a good idea. But I was like, also getting to meet my brother said it. We like because we went to meet John together as well. We were like to meet him at this point just before the retirement. So like I think it upped our sense of like, oh damn, like we can say thank you to you before you're done. And like,
Well, let me just take that opportunity to add one more thing about John Cena, the man. Okay, so obviously, I know being in the wrestling sphere, you know what I mean? I know wrestlers and stuff like that, and I know
mhm.
many of them that went to a few things this year, including a WWE tryout
Oh nice.
in SummerSlam weekend.
Yeah.
And so they flew people into, was it New York or somewhere near New York, Philadelphia or something.
Mhm.
I can't remember
Was it
where.
around SummerSlam?
SummerSlam?
Was it around SummerSlam? Was it around
Yeah.
that time? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was New York, New Jersey,
Aye,
something like that.
SummerSlam
Yeah.
weekend anyway. So they all went there and they did the tryout, and obviously, and who shows up at John Cena? You know what I mean? So he's got all these demands in his time, not just from the wrestling sphere, not just from his acting career and everything else, personal life, God forbid. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And the dude shows up to a tryout with people that aren't even signed yet to watch the matches and B, give feedback and then give advice to. You know what I mean? And there's pictures that I know from these wrestlers that, and of course they're all just like watching them starry-eyed. You know what I mean? 'Cause at the end of the day, like, they can't believe they can't believe they're beating anyone. But the fact that John Cena has taken time out before main eventing SummerSlam in his final year ever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To pass on advice to the upcoming generation. And then there was even another event, I think only a week or two ago, like just over a week ago or something. Bailey was doing something very similar.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Again, very little details of actually what it was, but it was something similar because it wasn't
It
an
was like a
official
seminar
tryout.
or something, I think. Just
It was
like
like a
had a lot
camp,
of yeah,
you
yeah,
know? So it was like a camp, and I think it was mainly for women's wrestlers.
yeah,
And then they came, and I think Charlotte showed up, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
But then who shows up
Rhea
at the end of
Ripley and
that?
stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's a few that were all working with them, but then John Cena shows up to that too, watches the matches, gives feedback. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
just like, and that was the week of his last match. Like, so to do stuff like that, like on top of the Make-A-Wishes, on top of everything else, he is just so unselfish with his time. Like it's just like, that in my opinion, like his wrestling career is one thing, but it's things like that that put him into GOAT status.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and that's to be fair, not to be all corny and stuff, but
Yeah,
like that is literally, I think, why I love him so much more. Like,
yeah,
and meeting him meant so much to me as well. It wasn't just because I was a fan of the performer.
yeah,
The man inspires me in like so many ways. Like
yeah.
every Monday, I do like a John Cena Monday, I do quotes that he puts on Twitter. But that's because I like resonate with it. I find it inspiring, and I'm like, this dude is
It
legit.
legit is.
Yeah,
He's also just so uber intelligent on that level, you
yeah,
know? And I'll be the first to say I'm not a big Cena mark, you know what I
mm,
mean? Like it's even whenever I really respected him as a performer, again,
mm,
I would rarely look forward to his matches as much as other people, this year aside, because it was so special.
yeah,
Um, but at the same time, there is just hands down no performer in the wrestling space that I respect more than him. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because he's just earned it.
yeah, 100%. And I mean, we kind of said it there, like about what our lasting memories are of John. If I had to ask you, I'll start with this one. We've got a few more of just like our favorite moments, matches, memories of John. You can go, which obviously whatever you want to say, promos, etc. But I'll start with this one because my title of the podcast is Wrestling and Film. So we're going to talk a little tiny bit about his acting career. Do you have a favorite John Cena movie or
No,
performance that
I
you've seen?
really I don't watch them.
No, no,
No.
not a fan.
I honestly, I'm just very, I don't watch a lot of movies in
Fair.
general these days, and and then so I can't honestly
That's
remember
fair.
what I've
That's
seen
fair.
Cena in, to be honest with you. I know
If
that's
I if I was to just throw out, then I'll throw out a recommendation for you. I'd
Okay.
go a train wreck.
Do you know what? This is the second time I've heard this week. I think I was listening to another podcast and
Really?
someone says, "Was that a WWE film as well?"
It wasn't a WWE film. This was the one that kind of actually made him legitimate in Hollywood again, actually got him like the second run because obviously he kind
Uh,
of failed with the WWE stuff.
uh,
Trainwreck was Amy Schumer, I think it was. I think her name is. I forget the name.
Schumer, yeah, I know
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you've heard.
and yeah, he just had a cameo. He literally steals the show. It's so funny. Like it's
Right.
well, say cameo. He's in there like a good portion in the middle. Like it's so funny. It's you can find like a couple of the clips online on YouTube. Oh, absolutely hilarious. And it kind
I'll,
of brings this like his spontaneous kind of like improv comedy to it.
uh,
Unbelievable, hilarious.
I'll definitely check that out. No, I've heard good things, and that's it's like by me not watching his movies, it's not me going, "Oh, I think he'd be a bad actor" or anything
No,
like
no, no,
that.
no.
I just haven't gotten it.
That's fair. That's fair. Busy life, man.
Yeah,
Wrestling is takes up a lot of time.
yeah.
But yeah, that and I've got this the Funko here, Peacemaker. His role as Peacemaker.
Oh, right. Yeah, this yeah,
Suicide
superhero.
Squad, the TV shows, that's actually like the most versatile and best acting that John's ever done. It goes all like the emotion, the emotional depth he has in that, like
Mm.
the intense scenes, dramatic scenes, as well as the comedy. It's all
Yeah.
there. Like that's definitely the best work of his career.
Well, I wouldn't doubt it because why wouldn't he be able to reach that in the acting sphere whenever
Mm,
he's demonstrated it so clearly in WWE? You know what I mean?
yep.
They often say that WWE's like boot camp for an entertainer. You know what I mean? Because you're thrown in such high pressured situations. Dave Batista constantly credits it was his training in WWE to get him where he needed to be a top Hollywood performer. So,
Yeah. No, and
yeah.
I'd argue like I mean it's all subjective again. Batista's the best actor I think that's ever come from WWE, like pure actor. But I think
Mhm.
John is the most entertaining to actually watch. I think he surpasses The Rock in that regard, in my opinion.
Are you forgetting Santa with muscles? You know what I
Oh, I'm so oh God,
mean?
sorry.
Dude.
Let's rewind again. Let me change that. Although I did enjoy Suburban Commando of Hulks, that's my guilty pleasure.
Mr. Nanny.
Yeah.
No, Three Ninjas of High Noon. My God, I loved that as a kid.
I mean, if you're a kid, I get it. I get it. I mean,
Yeah,
fair play. But I
which I
mean, wow.
was.
Those
Yeah.
classics aside, maybe John Cena is still my number one.
There you go.
But if we go back to the wrestling side, favorite match, favorite promo of John?
Of John Cena. Let me think. Do you know what it is? It's not necessarily a specific match because it's always about moments and general feuds, in my opinion. So I can't give you one. Can I
That's
just
fine. That's fine.
can I walk you through a few because it's a long.
Yeah, 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 go for it.
I will never ever forget how entertained I was by his. I can't remember if it was a best of five or a best of seven series with Booker T over the US
Oh
title.
God, yeah, yeah. I
You
think best of
know,
seven. I think they did, didn't they?
I think it was best of seven because I think it was a callback to Booker T and Chris Benoit, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, from
Yeah, yeah,
WCW.
yeah.
And I really think I just remember enjoying each individual match so much. You know what I mean? And that is it's very forgotten in my opinion, but it
Hmm.
always sticks out to me. As like at that time, Cena had won me over, and I was a big Cena fan before he became a top guy.
Hmm.
So yeah, that has to be mentioned in my opinion as just an idea and a feud and a project. His feud with The Rock, where they announced the match a year in advance, it was so ambitious,
Hmm.
hard to really make it completely work because I did think people grew weary of it as time went on. But at the same time, the effort they put into each individual promo battle and everything like that. Like if you, all you have to do is watch that documentary series that they made on it back,
Yeah, yeah,
network
yeah.
back. Then when you take it all in, you're like, whoa, there was so much great stuff in there.
Yeah, I
And
remember, but I think by the time I again I was right there with you watching that and on the edge of my seat, loved it. But
mm,
I think around when they tagged up in Survivor Series, I think maybe just before that and maybe a little bit after, it was like a little bit not flat, but it kind of faded a little bit. Like the
hmm
spark had gone a little bit, but I think by the time The Rock came back and he was fully there for like the last like 6 weeks before Mania,
they got it back.
it peaked again. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, it was a ridiculously hard task.
yeah,
But a favorite match has to be him and Punk Money in the Bank.
yeah.
And that's not even including his amazing US title run, which had banger after banger every week,
Yeah, the
including
Kevin Owens
Cenation and
matches.
Captain Kevin Owens. You know what I mean? I love those matches individually, but if I
Did
had to,
you? Sorry, no, cut you off there. Did you like? Did you love the series? That, I mean, I did. Did you like fan of the one stuff he did with Edge?
oh yeah, but that again, like that was amazing too. Like in my opinion, Edge was probably his best nemesis. I
Hmm.
mean, in terms of just like the Lex Luthor to his Superman. You know what I mean? Edge was, and again, it came at such a pivotal point in both of their careers. I really think that
Yeah,
they helped forge each other into being top guys because Edge was pretty new to the mid event scene, so was Cena,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and they really helped forge each other to be mainstays there. You know what I mean? So yeah, loved that stuff. I mean, I was pure teen Edge.
yeah.
Like, that was whenever I really started being anti-Cena. You know what I mean? No, it
Same.
was the spinner belt. I really think that as soon as that came out, I think even well, I must have only been 12 or 13 or something like
Because we
that.
grew up with this baby.
Oh yeah, or
That
the
was
big
that.
deal, and so whenever he came out with that spinner belt, I swallowed it for the US title. I didn't mind that, but when it happened to the WWE title, I was like, no, no, you turned in this prestigious championship into a toy, and and then it was one thing it happening, then it staying around for so long was another thing that aggrieved me, you
Yeah, because
know.
they stayed around for like 7 years or
Yeah,
something like that. It was a long
they
time.
stopped it spinning after a while, but even the
Yeah,
fact that, again, you look back at that amazing Punk feud or Punk's title reign, and the fact that he's holding that piece of you know what?
yeah,
I'm just kind of like, what a shame. You know what I mean? So it took them way so long to get rid of it, but yeah.
yeah. No, that's fair. Favorite promo?
Oh, the one where he calls out The Rock for having the notes on his wrist. Yeah, to this day, I get, well, it's a mixture. Okay, so in my opinion, John Cena is definitely one of the best promos ever, if not the best. But what makes him that is how good he is spontaneously. It was the same with
Yes.
Austin, it was the same with The Rock. And so the two moments that stick out in my head when I think of Cena promos, as good as hundreds of them were when he called out The Rock for having notes on his wrist, and whenever he called out Roman Reigns for forgetting his lines. It's
Yeah.
called a promo, kid. If you want to be the big dog, you're gonna have to learn how to cut one. You know, and so to me, because that's the magic of live TV and wrestling. As sanitized and scripted as a lot of it has become, especially in WWE, wrestling is at its best when it's spontaneous. And John Cena was so good at that when he needed to be.
Mm. No, 100%, 100%. And I think I share actually some of the memories. Match it for me is John and Punk. I had never been so. It still might be the match I was most excited to ever see. Was
Hmm.
Punk and
You didn't
Cena.
know what was going to happen again.
Oh my God,
Genius,
yeah.
you
Like
know?
that and that like that's obviously we were all on Punk. Like we were all team Punk there. Like it was all about Punk, obviously.
Mhm. Oh,
But John was playing his part, and like without John, he didn't. Because if it wasn't against John, well, I don't think we would have been as emotionally invested. Because he,
well, the thing is, John, and this speaks for his whole career, he was so unselfish about it. You know what I mean? He wasn't like, "What's this guy doing? I'm the champion." It was never about him. He was like, "He's having this moment. I'm going to let this crowd be this way." Same with against Rob Van Dam
oh my
in
God,
ECW
yeah,
One Night Stand. Another great moment. You know what I mean? And when he was young in his career,
yeah,
he was able to let these moments happen and play his part. Again, and that's so important in wrestling. So many people in wrestling want to, I want to have the best match. I want to, I want to get my stuff in. I want to, this, that. And it's just such a, whereas like, if you really, what you're doing is you're telling a story to the audience. What part do I need to play to make the story the best? And that's what he did at Money in the Bank, which is why it was so great. I actually, just to make it about me for 1 second,
there you go, mate.
whenever I won the tag team titles there over the weekend, first thing we did, where's the fridge? And we went in, we opened up the fridge we threw the titles in and took a callback picture because that's what
I
Punk.
know, I saw that, I loved it. I was like, I see what
Yeah,
he's doing.
yeah. So, but that's what I'm saying. Moments that you remember.
Yeah, no, that for me, like I said, I think that's like I said, moments, right? It's all about moments. Like I think
Mhm.
Kevin Owens said in an interview, he said no one remembers matches start to finish.
No.
You remember how they made you feel and like
Hmm.
moments. And I was like, that. match, I was going insane the whole
Oh,
time because, like I said, you don't know what was going to happen. You wanted Punk to win, then he jumps, and then obviously all the false finishes, Vince coming out, all that jazz.
to this day, thinking about that Punk entrance to This Fire Burns,
Oh,
getting goosebumps right now. Just
that.
thinking about that entrance. You know what I mean? That's what wrestling's all about at its best.
And there was that little moment, when Cena and then Cena in his entrance actually was classic because he usually did the coming out all fired up. He doesn't do any of that. He just walks. Like he just walked
Mhm.
through the because he was like, yeah, that's not my crowd, and he just saunters to the ring, and it was so un-Cena like. But I was like,
Oh, no,
that's
but
birth, that's genius.
ECW 2006, One Night Stand, again, just like
Yeah,
that, in my opinion, that was his most badass moment. And you forget how young he was. He was in his 20s, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, my God, but he was just
Only like a year into
head
being like the
down, I've
guy,
got a
then.
job to do. It was, he didn't know if he was going to get out of that arena alive. It was the most hostile crowd I've ever seen.
Yeah,
But yeah, he just, he was brilliant and he let the audience have their fun.
yeah. No.
Quickly, before
Oh
we
no, you go here.
completely move on, we didn't even talk about him winning the Intercontinental title.
Oh, against Dom.
Yeah, what's your
Oh
opinion?
yeah, yeah. And that match of Survivor Series, obviously when he lost it, oh, that was awesome.
Great. Yeah.
Like I loved it.
But the
Like and
moment of him
when
winning it was so beautiful. And in my opinion,
yeah,
like, part of me wishes that was what happened in the Sami Zayn match. You
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's very nice. Again, there's no perfect way they could have done this year at all. But it's very nice that he completed that last accolade before he left as well. Unexpected.
Yeah, yeah. And it was his hometown, like it
Mhm.
was all there. It was yeah, that was really I remember actually this actually really I love this story because I told my brother. My dad watches like here and there. He'll more watch if I'm watching, so he'll just kind of just be a second observer. And but
Yeah.
he'll get into it. And he's a fan of John. And when that match was going on, he was like really into it. And there was one moment I think where the referee was down and John was going to win, and he was like, "Oh my God, what the hell's going on?" Like I was, "Oh damn, he's really into this." And
Mhm.
then he left the room. He went to the kitchen, and then I think John won. And then I've never seen him sprint back in a room so fast because of wrestling. He just
Yeah.
ran back in. He's like, "What happened?" I was like, "John won." And he's like, "Oh yeah," and he was so happy. And I was like, "Oh damn!" I was like, "Wow, John, yeah, it's a lot of people."
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was it was that
It
that
was
might have been
amazing.
more my favorite thing to see
Yeah.
that reaction.
And I think early on in the year, I was really unsure about him losing the title at SummerSlam because I loved the story of him wanting to be the last champion and leaving with the belt. The
Mm.
whole retirement run could have been that.
Hmm.
Um, Again, maybe if he was a heel for a bit longer and if that had worked out better.
Yeah.
I think it got to the point. Do you know what it is? It was nice that we attempted that. Probably the right time to switch it back to Cody. And at least because of that, we got little moments like the US callback and the Intercontinental win, which maybe wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Mm.
So, yeah.
And it gave enough time for people to like fully cheer him again and
Mhm.
be happy and yeah, John, good guy
Yeah.
John. Whereas maybe if he was the heel the whole time. That was my
Mhm.
one concern about the heel turn, I think, initially. Even when he turned heel, I was like, oh, but he's got to be good again. Like,
Yeah, like you've got it. But we didn't know when. Like it could have
yeah.
been his very last match
Hmm.
that he held out until. You know what
That's
I
what
mean?
I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, me too. You know what I mean? Or maybe he would have been heel even during the last match, but at the end of it, he sees the light, and then that's his goodbye, is the turning babyface again somehow,
Because I
So
thought that's what they were gonna do. I thought it was gonna go all the way to the end and Cody was gonna beat him at the end.
yeah,
Just before he leaves and saves wrestling or whatever.
I don't envy the booking team this year. You know
No,
what I mean?
no,
As much potential as there is, this conversation just proves, my God, there's just so many different ways you could have went down. There would have been no perfect way. I guarantee you, there's no way that would have pleased everybody.
no, no. It's just one of those, and I think that's what makes it beautiful. That's what it's like. It's all open, it's all subjective,
Yeah.
and we'll see where we go from here. But I love this man, and I love the fact that you just said a minute ago that you were unsure of what you were going to be able to say or
Mm,
what are you going to bring. But that's why I think these things are so cool. And I also like, and like I was just speaking from to you like we met one time
yeah.
at the Brett thing. had
Mm.
obviously a long time to chat and about various things, and I was, oh, this is a great. I think you were a great person to talk to. You had a great conversation. I enjoyed it because we clicked so quick, and
Yeah.
and when we were going back and forth about what we liked and all that kind of stuff, I was like, I know
Mm.
I can talk about this with Chris,
No, I really
whether
appreciate you
you think
having
it
me
or
on.
not. But say that again, sorry.
I really appreciate you having me on. You know what I mean? Like I says, we had some great chats at Brett. You know, we had a lot of time to kill. It's a lot of
Yeah.
time to chat. You know, but it made it so much more fun for me. And so yeah. And I was unsure if I was, that helpful, I guess, to have on because a lot of the current product I don't watch week to week,
hmm
so but I was able, but again, because he's John Cena, I made a point to watch his stuff 99% of the time, which again is a measure of who we were talking about, you know what I mean? So yeah, no, I've loved it. And like I says, even having this chat made me kind of think about how good the year has actually been. People love to be a critic.
hmm
But if you think about it in terms of moments, which, like we say, is what wrestling is all about, he gave us a lot of them.
Yeah. This year and many years before as well. Because,
Yeah,
we've, yeah, when you say like 2006 and all that kind of stuff, and oh, JJ was like nearly 10 years ago, it's a bit scary. That's when I'm like, oh, damn, how old are we? What's going on?
you know what I mean? But like, that's
I
again,
think that's why it's so emotional, right? Because like that was our childhood,
yeah,
and now
because
it's like John finishing is like our childhood kind of ending in a way, kind of thing.
it's a major benchmark of our childhood anyway. You know what I mean? I mean, people talk about the Mount Rushmore. You know, everyone has their own Mount Rushmore, but if you're going to if the criteria is the biggest star of their generation, John Cena's on there. You know what I mean? I think I would probably, again, the Mount Rushmore I would have, whether or not they're even my favorites, is Hogan, Austin, Rock, and Cena, in my opinion, because they're the four biggest stars. And in my opinion, that's what the criteria should be. It could be, longevity, your Undertaker. It could be,
Mhm.
just figures like Andre or Bruno.
Yeah,
But
pure wrestling, Brett kind of
John
thing.
Cena will forever be in that conversation.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you there. Like I think I've said it before. There's those four, but and then there's everybody else.
Yeah.
Like if you're talking star status, superstar,
Mm.
next level star, those four, and then everyone else follows.
Like they don't have to be your favorites,
No,
but you
no.
can't deny that fact. They're the biggest stars ever.
I mean, two, three of them are my favorite. Some of my favorite. Steve is my ultimate favorite,
There you
and
go.
John is there, and The Rock is our favorite of mine as well.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Hulk.
It is me that Steve's your favorite. I thought Brett was your favorite, man.
I love Brett. You know what? It's one of those weird things. I think Brett is the best, the greatest.
At
Like
wrestling.
yeah, wrestler, pure wrestler, and
Mm-hmm.
like in the ring. And I think, and so for me, it's like a fact in my head that Brett
Mm-hmm.
is the best and the greatest, and I adore that. And I'm a huge fan. But like overall, and personally, Steve is my favorite.
There's nothing like that glass shattering. You know what I mean?
No, no. And that was
There's
my
no
he was
wrestler that
my
can kill you with that.
yeah, and he was my defining memory. Maybe it's not a great thing because I was like 4 or 5 years old, but he was my defining memory as a child as well. And
Yeah.
I didn't gravitate towards anyone as much as I did Steve, and still to this day. Like when he came back against Owens, I was friggin' going nuts.
Well, that's what I feel about The Rock for me personally,
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, I thought it as a kid. I got into wrestling in '99. Any time Rock was on the screen or on the show, in my opinion, he was the most entertaining person on that show each and every time. To this day, if he comes back on Raw, I guarantee you he's going to be the most entertaining part of that Raw or the most
yeah.
talked about part of that Raw. You know what I
And
mean?
you know
That's
what?
what.
That's a struggle for me. Like I said, I love Rock as always. Like he definitely top 10 for sure, and I adore Rock. That's where it was difficult sometimes because I love Rock and I love Steve, but when they were together, it was like that. Then it was kind of like that, that slight rivalry, and I was like, but no, he's not better than Steve. So there was a little bit of like, no, I don't hate Rock, but I was like, you can't be
No,
better
I know
than
what you
Steve.
mean. I know what you mean. It's like you have to be kind of against the other one to
Yeah.
prove you're one superior, but all you've got to do is watch their off-air moments where they're just riffing,
Oh
you
God, yeah,
know? And that's again, we're talking about spontaneity. That's
yeah.
wrestling at its best because they are the two best people ever. And if Cena had been at his peak back then, he would have held his own in a
Yeah.
completely different way. But that's one thing I think anyone that now sees how good Cena was, he could have held his own in any generation.
And he proved it when he against The Rock.
Oh yeah,
And
and more so.
you talk about like the oh like I don't can't because I'm on this camp I can't give credit to the other side.
Mhm.
Cena and Rock, I had never seen anything like that. Because
Oh,
I remember I was actually kind of in the middle because I was like, I like Rock more, but I was like, I like what Cena's doing. I appreciate it. So I'll give him his flowers. Whereas
mhm.
like my uncle, my brother were like so extreme Rock. There was never like any smidgen of John did good because they were like, no, like it's
Mhm.
no, nothing's better than what Rock was doing. It was so
That was
emotional. It was
that was
crazy.
my headspace whenever I was young as well.
Because
But it,
he did you talked about obviously him calling out Rock for the promo.
mhm.
Like I was like, damn, that was pretty good, and I was like shocked. But in the moment, were you kind of like still like, nah, no, like no, it's not because you didn't want to acknowledge that he was good.
That's an interesting question because yeah, I have to admit, like I didn't. I was waiting for Cena to constantly be bested each and every week. I had such faith in The Rock's superiority. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
I convinced myself over years. And when Cena did that, I was just like, oh my God. In a way, it was like, Rock, you wouldn't have the promo on your wrist, would you? You know what I mean? It was that kind of thing, but
yeah,
everyone's human, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Everyone like has the good nights, bad nights, and fair play to Cena for because it really you forget it was so personal at that
yeah,
time. They weren't just having a wrestling feud. Like they were literally like going at each other, which is what made it so special. But like
yeah.
also it's the reason why there was legit heat between them during that period of time too.
You see Rock's face afterwards when they're staring down.
Oh, he was pissed.
That's not like Rock being the Rock. That's like Dwayne
He was
Johnson
like,
being pissed off.
I have come here to put on a performance, and you've just, taken down the fourth wall here. How dare you? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But it was those moments that just added that extra spice that the feud really did need to live
yeah.
up to its promise.
Yeah. And I know I said that because my uncle and my years later when I spoke about like I asked my uncle about like, oh, what's your favorite memory of John and stuff, and he threw that one out about like how he got rock with the promo, and I was
Mhm.
like, oh, but back then you didn't acknowledge that you like no sold that because he couldn't back then it was like no I can't give John this credit, but now
Yeah.
it was like no fair play.
Well, that's what made again. We've been lived through so much of the uber sanitized WWE. That's what made the pipe bomb so great was the fact that someone was telling you all the things you were never allowed to acknowledge, and then Rock and Cena had that element of danger too. But
Yeah,
yeah, like I said, iron sharpens iron. And so that's what made Shawn and Brett so great at that in the 90s together. That's what made, in my opinion, who knows if Rock or Austin would have been anywhere close to how entertaining they were without each other because they're
yeah,
like, I have to be better than this guy. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So that was just a once in a lifetime bloody time in the business. Same as Cena and Edge, they pushed each other to be the main eventers that they became. So it was really great to see. And then with
yeah,
Rock and Cena too.
yeah. And this was great, man. Yeah, said absolute pleasure, and this it was great to catch up. And it's like it's just a beautiful thing that we met there, and we're able to
Yep.
kind of carry this on and do this. So I mean, thank you for that, Chris, and I appreciate it very much, man.
Thank you for having me, buddy. I'll be back sometime. It was good fun.